about the man as opposed to the myth and the legend. One thing to start off with is Marty always started off with a vampire joke. So here's your vampire joke. What did the vampire say before he died? Good night, son, I love you. That's what Marty, the last conversation I had with Marty was on Wednesday before he passed, and I found him on Thursday. Despite all what everybody thought, it was not a cardiac event that took him. They read the stitch report on his defibrillator, and his heart just stopped beating. So it was not a cardiac event. He died peacefully in his sleep.
Yes.
So I wanted to clear all that up for those who thought maybe it was, and rightly so, because that's what I thought it was as well. It was a heart issue, but it was not. He went comfortably, quietly in his sleep. His blankets were pulled up around him. He looked peaceful. You could see there was no struggle, no nothing. For those who don't know, I'm adopted, and it takes a hell of a man to take another man's child and raise it as his own. And Bobby and Marty did that for me and gave me a chance. To give you an idea of what things could have been, I had a brother that didn't make it out of the home, and he's now deceased with jail and all kinds of other stuff. So that's where I was headed had they not have taken me in and adopted me. Marty and Bobby were wonderful people. They gave me an opportunity and a lot of kids opportunities to do things that they normally wouldn't have been able to do. Marty didn't find out until his father passed away that his father was not his father. So it seems that in the DNA, adoption seems to be the thing. Marty's birth name, by the way, was Cohen, in case nobody knows. He nice Irish boy. Now the gear coat of arms, gears from Scotland, northern Scotland, and the family logo on the crest of arms translates to late but in earnest. And I told him years ago that we should change that to we'll adopt anyone. That seems to be the thing. What we want to do here tonight is basically memorialize him and sharing his life, not in his passing. I want everybody to have a good time. I'm going to open the mic up. But I'm going to ask you, because I went to shore leave and it went crazy long. There's so much stuff, not that that's a bad thing, but there's a lot of people here who might want to say something, and there's other stuff going on. And if you could keep comments quick, short, and those who can say, so everybody can have a chance to see everything. I love my pop. I hope you all did too. And obviously, from everything that I've gotten and read and calls and heartfelt sentiments, I can't thank you enough. I don't know most of you because I'm not a science fiction fantasy person, and that's not by choice. That's by ADD. I can't read a book. I can't stay focused on it. So, but anyway, I wanted to make sure that everybody had a good time and everybody, whatever you want to do, say a few words. The microphone's open. I know France, I don't know if she wants to go now, or Ricky wants to go now, or there's a couple key people that were prominent in his life. I want to give the opportunity to say something first before everybody jumps in. I don't know. France around? You want to go now, or you want to go later? Okay. Thank you, and everybody have a good time.
Sorry, I had to write mine down so I could get through it. But thank you for mine and Danny's little joke is he's the real fake son and I'm the fake son. My friend, tormentor, and mentor, Marty Gear. Now, I'm not sure if he ever told any of you this. You may not know this, but when Marty was 12 years old, he ran away to join the circus. You have heard that. Like 5 or 6 times at least, right? Got it. Okay, got it. Well, I met Marty a couple years after my real dad died, who was also actually named Alexander. If you didn't know that about Marty, his first name was Alexander. It was at a convention, of course, and part of a masquerade, of course. It was my first big competition, Balticon. Back then, Balticon was only topped by Worldcon as far as an important costume event. I said hi to him and introduced myself on Friday afternoon for the old Friday masquerades. And he said, "Oh, you're the pros from Dover that John Flynn told me about," with that sarcastic smirk on his face. And that would be the first time of what would be hundreds of times that he would take a moment to be both welcoming to me and call me on my shit. We won Best in Show that night, and at the after party, he came up to me and in his best evangelical costume guru-ness said, "Nice job. Can I talk to you about Misfits and Costume Con?" And that started my tough love, brotherly, fatherly relationship. He was the first person ever to ask me to MC a masquerade at CC7. He was running that, and as you all well know, him giving up the reins of MCing was a big deal and a lot of pressure. When he and Bobby had a family emergency one spring, he asked me to do the toughest job ever, sub for him at Balticon. And I wore a nice, generic costume, because there was no freaking way I was showing up as a vampire to try and sub for that man. My joke for 20 years now has been I'm the only living person to have ever emceed a Balticon masquerade. Yeah, a little grown because it actually used to be funny. It's not really so funny anymore. And now I'll need to do it again for him at this next costume con where he was co-chair. I was events head, am events head, and he was going to be my MC for the science fiction masquerade. I got the costume with him. We won awards in group costumes, and he was always the calm one out of a hectic masquerade group. And of course, I was lucky enough to be his co-chair for CC27 in Baltimore. Still the largest non-California costume con ever. I don't have to tell you, our whole committee is here, most of the tech crew as well. And then there's Castle Blood. When Castle Blood first started, it was started mostly by Spanish costumers. And we asked him many times over the years to come out and play, that he'd love it. And it took a few years to convince him. But then he told us, it's time to let other people be in charge once in a while. And I just want to come play in your sandbox. Is a phrase, of course, I'm sure you've all heard it means. And he took to the castle as only a true stage actor can, and loved having fully realized sets to perform in, chewing up every one of them we could. I won't say he was the fastest or least chatty performer we ever had, or wasn't the cause of many bottlenecks on the tour, but for more than a decade, he was one of the very top attractions as far as the public was concerned. We were open a week after he passed, and the customer comments at the haunt, as well as on our Castle Facebook page, at the news of his passing just showed that he even had that great of effect on our customers. Now, early on at the castle, he decided to become the grandfather that my daughter Caitlin never had on my side of the family. And since she still lived in Maryland at the time, they became road buddies, driving back and forth to the castle multiple times a year. And it was lovely to see them have their own relationship separate from me. And when money was tight to send her to college at a semester abroad, it was, of course, Grandpa Marty that wrote the final check to send her to England. He became an integral part of the castle, an unnamed manager, who would write me the most blistering personal emails about how I ran things and what I was doing that I ever read. And I never deleted a single one of them. But that didn't ever stop me from going to him for advice on anything and pretty much everything. And I changed a lot, and what I thought was important in life changed a lot as well because of him. He also became our biggest supporter. Anytime we were in a jam, he was there. Anytime there was a real need for a prop, for an idea, for a magic trick, or even for cash, he was there. No questions, just an overly organized reaction to the problem. And I must say, I really doubt the castle would still exist through all the last 21 years if it wasn't for him. When the TV show Midnight Monster Hops started, the first few things I knew we needed was Marty's bad vampire jokes. It was awesome to have him on that show, as it even went national for a while and is still in reruns, and I get emails about Uncle Vlad still to this day. And I have about 40 still that we haven't even used yet, so hopefully we're going to see if we can get those onto YouTube or something like that. The show's still online, and actually that guy that runs it now has plans that in a year or two it might actually be on Hulu. So imagine being able to just log on to Hulu anytime and see him in full garb, telling some heinously bad joke at a moment's notice. And now we have the responsibility of one part of his legacy. As many of you know, he wanted his vampire stuff to go to the castle. And as a matter of fact, as he was about his age, I had plans for him for the next 10 years. He kept telling me we'll see. But we joked last year that we wanted to make a casting of him so that in the end we could have a Marty bot and program it to tell jokes forever. He would laugh that laugh with the big eyes and the big mouthy smile, go, yes, yes. As many of you know, his ego would last well past his passing. Well, we didn't get that face cast. We were supposed to do it this summer. But now we've been looking around for a sculptor talented enough to actually get that sculpted from scratch, and eventually it will be on permanent display with us. I'll also try to finish the book we started, Uncle Vlad's Way Too Many Bad Vampire Jokes. And there are just so many other stories to tell, like all of you. Like how he and I once got thrown out of a church for blasphemy. And there is actually someone who witnessed that event in the room, but I shall not call her out at home. But don't we all really have those stories? We all have the stories of the accomplishments with him, the hijinks to get into with him. He was just that deeply invested in all of our lives. He was everybody's big brother, uncle, father, and grandpa. And I guess that really makes us all cousins in one way or another. And he'd just be so happy to see the family together. And lastly, I don't know if you know this one, but when he was 12, he ran away to join the circus. I know we've all heard it so often, but we'll always wish we could hear it one more time. Thank you.
One other thing I forgot to mention earlier before France went up, in this little box with the little effigy over here is our guest of honor. So he's in there with the steak in the mouth. So I forgot to mention that if anybody wants to pay their last respect.
I needed to write it down too. Got to know Marty really well right after Bobby died. We knew him casually before. We were kind of worried about him, so we started inviting him over for dinner. And we realized about the second week that he wasn't going to come every week unless he did that. So I started making up house projects, and I would call him, and he would come to dinner if he could help me with something. My entire house got redone that year. It was great. But yeah, over the years, he became my best friend, my mentor. I know. But some of the important things he told me was you didn't have to lose your child to become an adult. He was both the most childlike person I know and the most adult person I ever knew. The details matter, that you can't do a rough draft, you actually have to go finish it. He told me that I don't know, everybody loved him, and he loved everyone, he loved to flirt. I never saw him with any woman from 2 to 80. I don't was anything that he couldn't do. He's the most capable human being I've ever known. True Renaissance names. Storyteller, he loved center stage. You know, any room he was in, any party, you could find him by looking for this court of people standing around. But part of that was because he loved to learn, and it made him just a wonderfully patient teacher because he just still enjoyed. He was still taking classes last spring at the university to learn some of the new technology. I'm going to miss him so much. Thank you.
All right, I'm the other Marty, Martin Deutsch, President of Baltimore Science Fiction Society. When we first met, we said, we're going to have a problem. We got to figure out who's Marty and who's Martin. And that's what we did, and we've always been that way. We both answered to the other name in other venues. But in fandom, he was Marty, and I'm Martin. Business is in a world of hurt. We're going to have a very hard time. I don't say we've got to replace him, but finding people to do all the things he did. We'll carry on. The other thing I wanted to say was, fandom is a family. And as any family, people leave, people come. Megan? You here? The youngest member.
The youngest member of business.
Third generation thing. Oh, yeah, me.
I'm going to steal the microphone because I don't think anybody else is lined up to do this. As Ricky pointed out to me when he handed me this button that he used to give to people when they were too scared to cast blood, I need to be busy in order to be able to hold it together. There's too much energy going on if I'm not doing something. I knew that folks wanted to know what was going on, and I set up the Facebook page for this event and spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks managing it. I'm not the person who was responsible for coordinating all of this work. That's Danny in France. But it gave me something to do. Marty, most of you know him from Balticon, from just general life. The last time I was in this room, we were celebrating Bobby's life. And it struck me over the course of the last couple of weeks that Marty became part of our family after Bobby's death. I'm not convinced that it isn't in part because of my daughter and her red hair. But the other one in the plaid was still a baby when we were here the last time around. And Marty adopted my kids in part as local grandchildren. And when I lost my dad in 2010, he kind of became my sort of local dad. I had been thinking about him and Bobby as sort of ancillary members of the family and occasionally got invited to do things. The last time I spent any real time with him, I took him to see Title of Show in Columbia. And it wasn't about conventions and it wasn't about anything else. He was, among other things, a lunch partner. I was expecting to see him the Friday before or Friday before he died, just for general lunch. And I got busy with moving, so I didn't get a chance. And I just assumed, like a lot of other people, that he would still be here because Marty is supposed to be eternal. Eventually, I'll get over that, maybe. But I couldn't bring myself to go to lunch the following Friday because I couldn't go to the mall and not expect to see him there. I got involved with doing the organization stuff for the International Costumers Guild because I was working at Cale Gunter and Associates, and so was Marty. And when he had his heart attack, he needed help dealing with the paperwork, and he drafted me. I was at that job because Marty said I should interview for it. I can't begin to imagine what this is like for Danny and for his family. I just know that for me, it feels like I lost another dad. And I'm not sure I'll ever get over that. I want to keep it brief because I know there are other people who want to say things. I'm grateful for seeing all of the people who are here. And I hope that you all share stories after this part of the process. And not just today, but in general. Because Marty was too big to contain in a 4-hour event today. Thank you.
Bobby and Marty's and your generosity for many, many years. And we thank you. There are children in our school who read books in their home because of you. Marty and Bobby were a huge part of our building. They brought the spice in. Not every teacher can be the vampire. So thank you for being their friends, and thank you for being friends to Buck Lodge Middle School.
As my excruciatingly annoying mother pointed out, Marty was probably the closest thing that I have had to a grandfather in probably the entire East Coast. And when he died, it kind of hit me like one of those anvils that fall in the cartoons. Like, it spots all over the walls. And he was Marty. I mean, he's a vampire. Vampires don't die. They're vampires. And by the way, whoever put the steak on there, nice touch. But one of the things that I will always remember about him is he took me and my sister to help him go shopping for his granddaughter. And one of the things that we would usually, at one time, we went before this to Silverneck. Silverneck is awesome. And it has these enormous milkshakes. And me and Katie each got a huge milkshake because Marty is so awesome. And it was just amazing that one person could be so nice, and I will always, me and my sister will always remember him as a grandfather.
Back at this summer at Pensacola, they have a tradition of a
Close to the mic.
Pick up the microphone.
There you
At Pensacola, they have a tradition How's this?
go. Yeah.
At Pensacola,
6-foot long ship, loaded up with people paint shields to represent people who passed, and we have a prop. And you'll notice this little black circle on there with 2 little white fangs and some little blood drops. Yes, he was on there. And they light the ship on fire and put it out on the lake until it decides not to burn anymore. Then they go find a campfire where they finish burning it all the way up. And this is a very moving ceremony. And the names of the people represented on the ship are recited by various people. And Marty's name was called out. And someone asked, why did the vampire move to London? Because the sun never rises on the British vampire.
I'm Mary Kelly, and one of the three people who've been doing judging for the last several years for the Young Writers Contest. As you know, Marty was the driving force behind getting that started. And we've been doing it for a number of years. The Young Writers' stories are posted on the web. Marty reached into his pocket and paid for the printing of all the flyers that goes out to every high school in the state of Maryland, rounded up the people who were doing the sorting initially, and we would read all the stories and vote, and then Marty would cut the discs so that it would go to the remainder of the committee and they could then vote on the stories. This was part of his pride and joy. And it's going to be odd to not have Marty reading stories again. One of my best memories of Marty, I was, quote, the virgin who had never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. And they had a small theater version of Rocky Horror down on Calvert Street, and I had sent out a notice to Vista saying, let's go and we'll have a theater party and everybody would go to see Rocky Horror done live on stage. As soon as they started doing the time warp, he was the first one on the stage to dance it. So, Uncle Marty, your energy will be missed, your capabilities for organization, your generosity will be missed.
I'm Keith Candido. I write books. And at Short Leave, we had a little memorial thing for Marty. It was slightly smaller than this, but only slightly. And there was a running theme when people came up was that they would start by saying, I don't remember the first time I met Marty, but I don't remember the first time I met Marty. I've been going to conventions since 1991, and I think he was just always there. I do remember the last time I saw Marty, which was at Farpoint earlier this year. And we were sitting, unsurprisingly, in the bar. And we were talking about stuff. It would actually be a much shorter to describe the list all the things we didn't talk about. Just on and on about a variety of different topics. He saw and did so many things, including, I understand, he ran away to the circus when he was 12. I remember the first time I heard that, and my first response was I didn't realize they'd invented circuses when he was 12. And when I said that to him, I got the big Marty grin that you get when you say that. He was the perfect embodiment of a fan. He took joy in everything he did. He always had that big smile on his face, and it was never bigger than when he was making a really bad vampire joke. He was always generous with his time and with his energy, which was endless. And yeah, when people talk about what makes a good fan, a good fanatic of something, somebody who enjoys it, I think of Marty. And I think of just his boundless enthusiasm. And I just want to say thanks for the memories, Marty.
I'm a costumer.
this is the last costume Marty saw me in. It was Saturday, Balticon. And it was Saturday, and it was Marty. He was up to his fangs in last-minute trivia for the masquerade. And I had a piece of music that I wanted to tweak, just a little bit, but I didn't have the capability on my home computer. Marty did. And he took a moment out of this very busy day to help me tweak my music so that it was just perfect. And I'll always remember him for that. He was always there when you needed help.
Unplanned. I am Ming Diaz. I face paint. I have known Marty for all the years I've been going to Costume and Balticon. And every single time in comparing notes with him, in learning from him, nothing in the world was better than to hear a vampire joke delivered with essentially being wrapped around somebody who cares for you at that moment and is giving you their undivided attention. Nobody did it like him. I hope someday to learn something close. We can't all get up here, but something asked me to come and say to you. Ladies and gentlemen, to the memory of someone who stands unique in the science fiction world as well as the world of doing for other people, hip hip! Hooray! To Marty Gear. Ladies and gentlemen, to the name of someone who will be impossible to replace in all senses of his integrity, in all senses of the values he brought to us and our children. Hip hip! Hooray! And to the legacy. I'll do my part. I ask that we all do the same. Hip hip! Hooray!
My name is Dan Delaney, for the benefit of those too far away who somehow can't read. It's very interesting how certain places become nexuses. It was out on that porch out there beyond those glass walls where, while I was playing a game that involved having to crawl around with a GPS, that I got the call that Marty was gone. And this room was the room that we celebrated the life of his wife. It was also the place where my younger daughter first took up public speaking. I was carrying her in my arms because she was very small at the time, but she was desperate to get to the microphone. And she took the microphone and she said, I want to see if I can get this right. It's deep on many levels. Words, I think, that still speak to us today. But I think Marty would find it a little funny that we would say he was irreplaceable. Not because he wasn't. I don't think he ever thought of himself that way. But I think the thing that we need to carry most away from this is that he didn't think anyone was replaceable. Everyone he met was special somehow. They had gifts, they had talents, undefined, squandered, depending on how close you were to him. But things that needed to be cultivated, that needed to be grown. And he took it as his job to do that. And those people that were at Shore Leave and heard me speak before, you can tune out for a couple minutes because I'm going to repeat myself. The other thing that you should take from him is change. Marty's gone into perhaps the final change that all of us get. But the thing about Marty was that he never feared change. I remember Balticons where the new kids on the block were reaching the stone wall that was the establishment, that the idea of media or goths or steampunk or any of 100 other things that weren't, traditional literary science fiction were to be ignored if possible. But Marty was never like that. He took up with any group that came around. You can see the spread of ages in this room of the people he engaged. No one was too young. No one was too new. No one's fandom or interest was not worth his attention, was not worth bringing into the community. And that's what he did all the time. Technology, people, culture, he leaned into it every time all the way to the end. If there is anything we can do to carry on what he gave us, it's to do that meeting. It's to get out of that comfort zone, to embrace the stuff that's new, to embrace the young people. It's tough. We are a band of introverts, except for the few that worm their way in, pretending to be introverts. But we all have worth. Anybody who walks through the door, anybody who's on this planet had worth to Marty. If we keep that in mind, if we reach out just a little bit, then we will take up the slack that Marty has left. Thank you.
Just 3 words, and I plan to spend the rest of my life saying, Marty, thank you.